Hello, guys. Welcome. Welcome to another episode of Ripster Daily Trade Recaps and Teachings. All right, guys. Earnings season in full swing. There's so many plays on our watch list. We have to so much to recap. Although the market was kind of in mid of the day was went choppy, but there's definitely some good plays like Boeing, CRWD, USP short, Tesla short all day, and there were definitely good plays in the community today. As you see, our game plan today was huge, huge, huge. So much running today, so much running, and but few of the stocks were just really illiquid stocks. But we'll recap everything. We will recap all the earning setups that we played today. We'll take a look. Amazon was a nice winner as well for us. We'll talk about that. We'll go through all the trades and see how the community did. So guys, quick introduction. All these trades and teachings are from any trade ideas that I share in the community on YouTube or on my Twitter. We always do repeatable setups. We use a repeatable system that thousands of traders across the world use to trade consistently. You see a game plan in front of you that we create in the pre-market. We provide this game plan to the community 20 minutes before the market opens, so everybody is ready, have initial buys, and we can trade with that. I go on the voice first few hours in the market open, guiding everybody through the trades, what is short, what is long, where's the risk levels, and just trying to see how are we gonna trade there, right? So I also provide a day 2 day 3 setup list. I did a webinar on my day 2 day 3 setups as well. You see CrowdStrike and Lily were one of our top day 2 day 3 setups. Lily really kind of worked out for us today, so we'll discuss that as well. Then additionally, we provide our daily levels, SPY, QQQ, IWM for all the marketplace. We so that traders can take these levels and use the EMA Cloud System to trade on their own. So that's all for the introduction. So let's start with our first play, and I am on voice first few hours of the market open as well, guiding everybody through the trades. So that's quick introduction. Let's start with our first play of the day. All right, let's discuss the first play. So the first play we're going to talk about is UPS. So guys, this is earning season, right? So earning season is the most busy season for us, and it's always the same repeatable setups that we trade again and again and again. So what was the plan on UPS? Let's see. So UPS, one of the main earning plays, that's why I was highlighted them in the pre-market. 129.50 was support, resistance is 134, room to 125, bearish buys. So basically I wanted to short UPS right out of the gate. That was my plan. Let's see how it worked out. So we were short. I was on the voice and I told everybody that we short UPS. And why? Because it was breaking the pivot that I just showed you. It was rejecting the clouds. You see the pop and drop. That's where you take the short. You add more under 129. You fade it. My target was 125. One thing to note is people were getting impatient because it was not going anywhere. Up, down, up, down. So I told everybody use the 130 risk. Use the 130 risk, right? If you're impatient, just use that risk. And finally, the bear flag broke down, and then it faded all the way to my final 125 target. So I gave that 125 target right in the morning at 9:35, and we met our 125 target by end of the day. Easy trade on the shares, $3 to short, $3 risking what, 70-80 cents. Even if you risked $1, that was a $4 short all day. You risked $1,000, you probably made $2,000 to three grand scaling out. The options were nice, 30-40%, but it was mostly a stock short trade for me. Very easy setup. We'll be watching it tomorrow as well. Very simple, low risk, stress free, as long as you showed the patience to hold between these candles. Ripster clouds bearish, leading the way. So next one we're going to talk about is General Motors. General Motors was a very high conviction trade because here was the plan: trade versus 50. Those who watching my videos from past few years, or who following me from last 5-6 years, my strategy of psychological number, how important that strategy is for me, how much emphasis I put on that. So 50 always gives a good confidence to trade long or short. So this was the plan: General Motors trade versus 50, and as soon as the market opened, General Motor was bearish right out of the gate. You could easily risk 50 bucks, get in short right away. It's breaking for 48.50. You add more short there and you just hold the short. Right, let's see. Right, so it was a short versus 50 as per the game plan. Do not chase. Ideally, you should be in before I mention, if you are trading that. So you see that fade, fade, fade. The target I gave everybody was 46.50, and I gave this target right in the morning. The first 10 minutes I gave the target, and we ended up fading to almost 46 bucks before we covered the short here, right? So even if you short it at 48.50, even if you short it at 48, let's say you short it at 48, you still made $2 by end of the day, right? I mean, that would not be a great risk reward, because then you have to put your short not at 50, you would have to put your stops right here at 1 hour Ripster clouds, and you're still risking $700-800. You easily making $1,500-1,600 on the short trade. I didn't check how the puts went on General Motors, but I'm sure those puts as well did pretty good. So that was another winner in the community. All right, guys, let's look at the next setup we did today was GE. So let's see how GE panned out. I was busy with UPS, CrowdStrike. I didn't, focus too much on GE, but it was actually the best play in the community today. So the GE, I have seen it running the same way in the past. So that's why I was kind of, watching it. So let's see. It reported better than expected earnings. 164.50 was support. Resistance pivot was 170. So let's see what GE actually did, right? So what support did I give? I gave as 164.50, right? Where did it bounce from? 164.60, same area, right? That's why I gave you that support. So now the setup on GE was not the first candle. The setup was the 34.50 bounce. This is one of the repeatable setups that I cover in my webinars, right? So this was a repeatable setup. See, my focus is to show you how the winning trades are made. My focus is not alerting, but my focus is guiding, right? You have to learn. Today some new trader was coming. He was like, I didn't see GE, your alerts and all that. And then I showed him the screenshot and I showed him the pre-market plan. I was like, if you really want a success, I can give you a plan and I can show you the setups, but you have to do it on your own, right? Nobody's going to hand it to you, because if you expect somebody to hand it to you, let's say I'm giving you an alert and you buying it, yes, few alerts will work. One of my alert doesn't work, then you will lose everything. And guess what? Who's to blame, right? So the thing is, it's not going to work. No, longevity is not in buying blindly. Yes, you see, okay, Rip is talking about this bounce. I know this setup. This is my risk. This is the cloud. I can take few call options here. My risk is right here. And you hold, and then you listen to the guidance how we play it out, right? So anyways, so I saw the setup 944. I saw the 34.50 bounce setup. If I saw it earlier, I would have mentioned it earlier, but I saw that and I said it's a cloud bounce setup, and it started to move nicely, and it did break. I had a breakout alert on GE as well, which I can show you here. Let's see if I can show you. Hold on here, right here, should be right here somewhere. Yeah, so you see this breakout 170. What was this? This was a pre-market high breakout. And then so that was a pre-market high breakout. Let me make a screenshot of this one. And that was another, that means it's going to go higher. That means it's going to go higher. And then where does GE go? My next target I gave everybody was 175. I gave the target 10 a.m. and then second target I gave 178. Yes, we did not meet our target, but we were close. But we were already making, how much did we make since that curve? Let's say you added at 168. You still made $7 per share profit. What did you risk? You risked, yes, 68 might be a little not that great entry, because you have to risk $2 on this cloud, right? So but still, if risking $2 making $6-7 is a good risk reward trade. So that was a beautiful trade today in the community GE. All right, let's look at the next one. We're going to look at Amazon. So let's see what was the setup on Amazon. Amazon also, we came with the planning on Amazon today. So Amazon was actually, the profit target raise, price target raise came a little later. It was Vinod who told me about it, or I would have missed it. Thank you, Vinod. And so Morgan Stanley always raised the profit target to 240. and support was 182.50, resistance 183, 184.50, long on pivot clear. What does that mean? As soon as the resistance pivot clears, you long it. So that's what it means, right? So let's look at here. So I told, as soon as I saw the pivot breaking out, I told everybody Amazon is breaking out our pivot for a long, right? So you have to be ready, you have to long, and you can see here 1 hour clouds are breaking out as well. And I was on the voice. Most of these alerts were on my voice. I gave 2 targets to everybody. The first target I gave was 187.50. The second target I gave 188 target. And most of our targets met, right? We met 187.50 there by 10 a.m. and then I told everybody to leave some position because it can really push if it breaks over daily MTF clouds, and that's what happened. It met our 188 target and then it pushed to 189.39, even went more than our target, and that was a beautiful trade, right? Your initial risk if you're trading at the open is right here 183.50. Your risk is 60-70 dollars, and then if you're adding a little higher on the second candle, let's say you're adding 184, you can see this 1 hour clouds which will give you conviction, and maybe you can risk nothing, not a much risk, right? There's like 60-70 risk here. If you add here, then you have a dollar risk, it's a bigger risk. But even if you add it there, right, I mean, you can always go to 3-minute chart, you don't really have to stick on that. But if I go to 3-minute chart, then I can see that if I go to the 3-minute charts, then I can see that we are pushing over a little flag, and you can use that as well and use those clouds as well to push up to risk your trade, right? You can always create another MTF clouds. If you want to trade 3-minute chart, you can use 10-minute MTF clouds, perfectly fine if that's how you want to trade. All right, next one we're going to look at CrowdStrike. So CrowdStrike was very important today. There was some important lessons to learn in the CrowdStrike. So today, when we are using bookmap in community as well to keep eyes on what's happening. Initially, when we opened the day, let's see what was our buys, right? So we had 261 support and 264 support. So those were 2 supports. Resistance was 270. And when we saw the 260, this main support break down, although we came in with like a bullish bias because it was over the cloud, this first candle, we were not long. It was a short scalp. When I told everybody short the pops, 260 will confirm that if it's really short or it's not. But then there was a buyer at 260. I told everybody 260 is a buyer. I told everybody at 939, right? At 940, at 940, it started to push from that buyer. I told everyone this happens because we are selling for many days. One day it will flush at the open, trap the shorts, and push higher. I think I even tweeted about it. We can look at the tweet. I tweeted about as well about that concept. See what I told everybody. 260 buyer held up, good warnings, don't hold your shorts. We don't want to lose because it could have squeezed to 280. We don't want to lose that. Long is confirmed. Use the 265 as your risk. That's the risk I gave everyone. No short. I clearly told everyone the first target I gave was 275, right? And then it tried to push. It pushed to 273. And then it pulled back. I actually got out here because it was breaking the clouds. Then it reclaimed the clouds again. Then I got back again in, and again our target was 275. And this time we did meet 275. And then finally, when it breaks 512s, we get out, right? I mean, we were looking for 280, we didn't get it. But if you were adding here, it was a net green trade. There's no reason this trade should be red for anyone. Yes, it can be red if you are adding here and then you're stopping out here. Yes, of course, it's going to be red for you, right? So you have to find the best entries, right? This curl setup was good. You can draw a downtrend line here. I mean, more than making money on CrowdStrike today or losing money, it was more about understanding this concept. When it flushes and I saw the buyer, I saw the buyer. Right away, I warned everyone there's a buyer, big bidder. We saw it from the book map, and then it swiped us right back up. right? So anyways, nothing. I was trading shares. I got on the first push I got $6 per share profit. On the second push I got like another $4, $5 per profit. That was it. It was scalps for me. Was a decent trade. All right, let's look at the next one now. So next one I'm going to look at is Boeing. So Boeing was, it was bullish today. Let's go see what was our plan on Boeing. I personally did not touch it because I've been losing on Boeing a bunch of times. I tried to trade it, but our resistance was 180, then was 180.55, and then if we look at Boeing today, what it was doing, so it was over 1 hour cloud, right? And then it was over the daily cloud. This is exactly what I covered in yesterday's video, that this is where we are rejecting. I didn't take the trade. Traders in the community was long all over, because you can see our pivots of breaking out of 180, 180.55. I did tell everybody on the voice that we are strong, so traders in the community were long. I just gave them the target, that next target will be 186. The first will be MTF clouds, then 186.20. It was a decent trade. Nice call outs all day in the community by a lot of traders who were trading Boeing. So Deborah was trading on it. A lot of traders were trading on it. Nancy was trading Boeing. So Newbie was on Boeing. So a lot of people were trading Boeing today. So it was a good trade. It was MTF 1 hour cloud, easy setup. It was a MTF 1 hour cloud setup on Boeing long today. So let's look at some other plays, and these plays, I'm going to talk about these. These are usually illiquid, but they move really nicely, because I remember historically, I remember these companies. I know all of these companies, what they do, how they traded in the past, right? So what was all that? SCHW is actually, the daily chart is setting up very nicely. Yeah, we have to watch it. So what was the plan on SHW today? So the plan was long bias over 330, 345. BO means breakout is over 345. So as soon as, that's why, because I know it moves like that. So when market open, my first plan was the short. Watch the pops to short to 3450, right? You can short 100 shares 339, or you can short 50 shares, 10 shares, whatever your trade account is. That's fine, right? And you risk this area, and then you fade it to 3450. So you're shorting 339, you're covering at 34, make $5-6 share profit, then you get out, then you cover, right? It's my repeatable setup. Then good for covers, 3450, good for covers. And then came our 3450 morning repeatable setup, right? So that was our 3450 morning call, another repeatable setup that I teach again and again and show you guys again and again. And look at what happened now. It continued to curl. Beautiful repeatable setup on that, right? So, and and then it continued to push, right? All you need to enter here, your stops are here, $2-3 stops, and you're looking for a big win. By the time it goes 340, you make $5 per share. By the time it goes to the pre-market high, you make $8 per share. So that's the kind of trade you do on these setups. Remember it. I covered them in my webinar, but I give you examples every day. All right, let's look at next one. So like one was LMT. I kind of forgot about it, but it's a big good sector. It's a defense sector. So what was the plan on LMT, right? So the plan on LMT was bullish bias. Pivot was 486, support was 480. What does 480 means? That will be where your risk will be. But it kind of started to bounce right away. So when it does this, you might have to go to 3 minutes to see how you want to trade that setup. Maybe it pulls back on 3-minute cloud. You can do that, and then it pulls back. But the real trade comes on this 512 midday curl. That's the real trade. Now I look at it, this daily chart was such a nice breakout, right? Such a nice breakout. So we cannot ignore the daily charts when we are trading, right? So this was a midday. This was a midday 512 call, right? This was a midday 512 call. So remember this setup. So now let's look at Tesla, right? So let's look at Tesla, and so next one, let's quickly look at that. We're gonna look at is our Tesla, right? So we're gonna look at Tesla and see how what was the plan on Tesla today. So Tesla again, guys. There was nothing really special going on, but we had our levels, right? 253, 249, and of course 250, right? Always a big level. So as soon as the market opened, I saw that the Tesla was pretty heavy, breaking down. Right away, I warned everyone no long. On the voice, I told no long. Reason being that everybody wants to long Tesla. A lot of people were expecting it to bounce into the earnings. There was no long. I kept reminding them, very heavy, very heavy. 240, 245 is your target, big seller at 250. Then it kind of bounced because there was a 246 was a big buyer. You could scalp with that big buyer, but it ended up not really going anywhere, right? So there's nothing much else to discuss. Just wanted to discuss this the bearish move today. Now since we are on Tesla, let's discuss the earnings. So I'm gonna quickly talk about our Tesla short after hour, guys. So Tesla came up with the earnings. We can look at the earnings. Let's check it quickly. All right, before I look at the earnings, let's see what we did, right? So earnings came out. I saw the heaviness. I told in our trading floor that short versus 250, right? Because I did a pre-mark, I did analysis before the earnings. I knew if as long as it's under 250, it's a short. There's no question about it. So I was short. I didn't really get a good entry. I was short at around 244, 40s. I covered the first part at 240s, and I was waiting to see what it does, and it did actually flush, and it flushed to 234.50, and we covered it. I was done for the day, but it was still heavy, and reason being, Alan talked too much. He said some things he shouldn't speak because that scares the shareholders, and he said if you don't believe in the autonomy, you should sell Tesla, something like that. And robot taxis again, they keep feeding this robot taxi chocolate to the traders, and it's nowhere to be seen. And there's a lot of other stuff, right? We were not going to focus on that, but the conference call was actually super bearish. That's why you see that Tesla was at 225s. I actually gave these targets of 225 and 220s where it can go tomorrow, but this too much gap makes it a little tough to trade tomorrow because we don't want to get swiped back up, and nor do we want to long it and then it flushes on us. So we have to be very careful tomorrow how we trade it. Usually in this case, I would love a bounce to the clouds and then short it. We just have to go back how it traded in the last earnings to figure out how it would trade. Go back to the last earnings, and that will give you an idea how the Tesla will respond or work out in this earnings, and maybe we can trade it accordingly. Anyways, this was all about how we traded it, how we're going to watch it tomorrow. All these MTF clouds, 234 big level, 220, 225. So we'll see. So that was all about today. Successful trades on Tesla today, all of them. But let's look at the earnings now. So I mean, guys, if the name was not Tesla, this stock would be like $120, $130. See, I'm not a perma bear or perma bull. I always talk rational stuff, and I was long. I gave a long on Tesla when we were at and I have talked about it before as well. This was my article that we published on Benzinga, that it's in April 24th. That's a great stock for a long-term investment. I gave my reasoning. You can go read it. I gave the risk, 135 risk, $15 risk, and it's almost went 70-80% from there, right? So I'm always never biased. But the reason we are seeing this rejections is while all of the rest of the Tesla is or rest of the stock market. The companies are going AI and all that, but there's no earnings growth on Tesla. I mean, this 42% earning growth minus 42. I mean, it's a year behind. I said the same thing last quarter. Yes, we ran up due to a lot of things, robotaxi and all that kind of things, but Tesla has to catch up. At the end of the day, we want to see it make money. Definitely it will make money, right? It might be it's a bull story, but it's not today, it's not tomorrow, it's not next quarter. It's down few quarters. So that's why investors are selling, right? They know it's going to be some time where it catches up. You look at some other company, I mean, I don't know, we can start look at SMCI, or we can look at something which is look at Nvidia. What do you see? Green, 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 green. EPS growth 137, revenue growth 111%, right? So that's what I look at. That's why people want Nvidia. That's where Nvidia is, even though it might be too expensive. But you have to understand what's happening with Tesla, right? That's why all this move was priced in. That's why it didn't push over to 250. So anyways, right? So that's the reason. In this, you can see how the earnings per share is going, and the revenue. I mean, look at this. Second quarter 23, 25 billion, almost same. I mean, revenues. I mean, they beat revenues, but who cares with the beat? I mean, they're barely making more money than the last quarter, same year, right? I know there's so many other things people talk about the future. That's fine. We are talking as an immediate impact, right? So that's why you see the weakness. That's why it's selling off. We'll see what happens tomorrow. But I definitely don't see it going back over 250 near term, unless must say something really crazy. And when the rate cut comes in, and if the market pukes, the Tesla is going to be weak stock. So anyways, 220 levels tomorrow, then to 200. We'll see how it goes. Right now, not a time to invest in the long term. Like I did my article back when we were 150. Maybe we find another good level soon enough. That's for Tesla. All right, let's look at now Lilly. Let's look at Lilly. So Lilly was a long today. You can see why was it long. It was long on 1 hour chart. It was long on 1 hour chart. And I also tweeted a news out this morning on Lilly. Let's see if we can find it here. Let's see I can show you from the morning. So there was the first thing I tweeted today was on Lilly. You see this big news, not a news, I mean analyst comment that GLP obesity market is going to make 90 billion, and that was it, right? And the Lilly Lilly was on our watch list. Lilly was one of our top day 2, day 3 setup. You see here, news. I gave the news, I gave support, I gave resistance, easy long, triggered the long in the morning when it pushed over this candle, pushed over the 1 hour clouds, and 887. Sorry, not this one. Let's see. Yeah. So 888 was my final target that I gave everyone, and we did push close to 888. Pretty easy, stress-free trade. I've been watching it since it fell down from 956s, right? So that's why it was on a day 2, day 3. But you see it's bouncing over the daily clouds and reclaiming 1 hour clouds. So time is running short, so I'm not going to discuss too many more tickers. I'm just going to discuss our morning's chop loser on spot. So spot was nothing special in spot today. I was watching for the breakout. That didn't come. Breakdown, that didn't come. So nothing worked there on spot. Failed the breakout, failed the breakdown. And after that, it was a waste of time in the morning. So morning was a chop loser, nothing much. I left it alone after that. I did tell everyone that maybe you can short it, this 512 breakdown. But that one was also very choppy, right? So I told it, leaving it alone, waste of time. So that was one of the choppy losers this morning. Spot, I always have a hard time trading spot. Anyways, guys, sorry for the late video. The video was going too long, so I'm just going to keep it short today. Not going to discuss any more tickers. But we had a decent day. If you are in the community, make sure you read the game plan every day and focus on the earning setups. Do not trade first 10 minutes. Wait for the better setups to pop up. All right, guys, that was it today. Thank you. Actually, we're going to discuss one more because that one was also pretty solid play today in the community. That was Kimberly Clark. And then this is promises the last one. We will close the video. So Kimberly Clark had beat the EPS revenue miss 141, resistance 140-80, support 141. I told everyone in the pre-market, bearish bias to short. So Kimberly-Clark, as you see, gave the pre-market plan right here on Kimberly-Clark, bearish bias to short, and 141 rejected, faded, all day fade on Kimberly-Clark. That's it. It's the setups, right? They work. You just have to follow them. Just have to draw your levels. You just have to choose what you want to play and take it from there. And if you're in community, make sure you read the game plan, whatever we talk about there. If I see something which is working out from game plan, which I think makes sense, I always mention, right? So that was KMB.